Hi, welcome to the Afrocentric Woman. This is installment number one of dating strategy is vital for Black women. Ladies, don't let anybody tell you that you're wasting your time investing in your dating strategy, and that you're interested in investing energy and resources into um attracting a healthy mate and loving on yourself and experiencing dating and doing dating in a way that is different by far from what we were taught or lack thereof, what were not taught as girls and adolescents and teenagers and young adults. Don't let anybody shame you for being interested in cultivating that aspect of you. The interesting thing about the naysayers, about people who say that dating strategy and focusing on dating is such a waste of time, it's frivolous, it's not important. These are the same people who also shame single mothers. These are also the same people um who have negative things to say about women who get caught up in dusty relationships. So they're telling you on one hand, don't get better at at dating, and then on the other hand, they shame you for bad dating outcomes. Like you 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 can't make it make sense because it's literally opposing thought processes. If you're going to avoid a dusty dating situation, if you're going to avoid a dusty relationship, if you're going to avoid being in a dusty relationship, you have to have a strategy not to engage in it. You have to have a strategy, literally, you know, you have to. If you're going to bring children into the world within a confines of a committed, healthy relationship, be it marriage or something similar, you have to have a strategy. Most people don't just wake up and meet someone and it just all works out for them. Like those people do exist, but they're rare. Like you can't base your life off of these one-off fairy tale people who come on and was like, "Oh, I was just minding my business and my husband just knocked on my door out of nowhere and he was rich and everything." Like, okay, all right, Susan, I'm glad that that happened, but most people have to kiss quite a few frogs. Most women don't have that experience. Most women go and sift through all kinds of stuff before they find a situation that's going to work for them. So therefore, you have to know how to be able to sift through it. And another thing is that we're not going to be taking these, pick me like attitudes and just projecting that onto a different group of men. Like that's not going to be helpful for women either. So even if they have gotten to the point where they're eliminating certain groups or certain types of people out of the dating pool, that's not a complete fix. That's going to increase your odds of finding a decent person, but it's not a complete fix. There's all kinds of other things that need to be cleaned up based off of where you are, because everybody, is in different places. But what we do know is that we do have a lot of common threads when it comes to being a Black girl raised in the US or wherever. There are some common threads, being invisible, not being important, especially when you're dark skin or brown skin with kinky hair. Um, uh, Growing up in a Black male worshiping society where girls don't matter. Not having any examples of manhood in your life, not receiving the type of love and acceptance that you needed during your formative years, having to be ultra independent because you had no one basically holding space for you with your development as a young girl, as a teenager, as an adolescent, as a young adult, um, allowing for you to be seen, heard, and understood. Not having a good support system. I mean, I've talked to, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of Black women who literally feel like they've raised themselves in a lot of ways, like, latchkey kids, coming home, fending for themselves, figuring it out, overworked single mothers, absentee fathers. Okay, so this is the backdrop. And so you can understand, people should be able to understand why it is been so challenging for Black women to overcome and to create healthy relationships, because they're not coming from healthy environments. They're not coming, even if even if women who grew up in the suburbs in wealthier neighborhoods, it doesn't necessarily mean your household was functional. And overall, if you look at the community, there's a lack of manhood, and there has been for decades, centuries, really. So it's a tall order. It's a tall order to endeavor to reverse um this lineage of dust and women having to fulfill the man role of the community, and the toxic dysfunctional relationships. So do you think that you're just going to be like, oh, snap out of it? you know, Go out, don't, most people's dating education was like, don't come home pregnant. How many words is that? Don't come home pregnant. That's 4 words. 4 words. And that was the extent of their sex education. Weren't given any guidance on dating. Most Black girls weren't even told what to expect of a man. They weren't even told that. You just supposed to get a man and get him, and then you'll be virtuous, and then you'll be chosen, and then you'll be good. You'll be Mrs. So and so, or so and so's baby mama, or so and so's girlfriend, or so and so's ride or die. That's like the majority of Black girls. Black girls aren't told that you're supposed to expect things. He should have this, he should have that, he should do this, he should do that. Most people's mom was a pick me their damn self. So how is a pick me mama gonna teach her daughter how to navigate relationships and what to expect of a man when she herself is a pick me and a mammy? So where are you supposed to get it from? So you go out there and you bump your head 1,000 times. Hopefully you come out unscathed. Hopefully you come out alive and not hurt too bad. But you go out there, you bump your head, and you make a bunch of mistakes, and everywhere you turn is a dead end. Until you realize that you have to make some major decisions depending on the type of life that you want to live. We live in an information age where we can see what's going on in other communities. We can see how things compare. We can see how we are perceived by the greater society. We can see how other people value and want to invest into us. And then you have to really start asking some difficult questions of like, well, do I see value in myself? Am I ready to invest into myself? Dating information is not frivolous by any means, because in order to have a healthy community, you have to have individual healthy families. In order to form those families, you have to have the divine feminine and masculine come together and decide to do that. And in order to get the right match, you got to date, unless you're going to do an arranged marriage, which most people here are not doing arranged marriages. So how can it possibly be frivolous if the dating strategy is going to be the strategy that helps you create a family in the most opportune, um in the most advantageous uh environment or situation? It's your dating strategy that's going to get you there. Now, some people don't want to be partnered up, and they don't even like, there's some people who don't even like men. And I don't knock those women, because men are annoying. So, you know, more power to you, but you have to understand that if you don't like men in general, You are a unique person. That is like a minority mindset. So you cannot project your minority mindset of I just don't like men, period. You guys are focusing too much on that. Okay, well, that's the minority because the majority of women want to be partnered up. Or they're going to engage. And even if they don't want long-term partnership, they want to engage with men in some kind of way. Even if you don't, even if you don't want marriage or long-term partnership, and you're engaging with men in some kind of way, you need to be engaging with men in a way that's not going to hurt you. You need to be engaging with them, with men in a way that's going to be beneficial for you as a woman. However way you spin it, you need to know how to deal with them. And you need to know how to put yourself first, and you need to be able to practice that and be able to implement putting yourself first under various different circumstances, under various different pressures and situations that may arise, still putting yourself first, being self-preserving. That's what it's all about. So it's not, sometimes here and there, but not in this situation. No, in various different situations. And it is a skill. It is a skill that women are overcoming years worth of programming that has said that they're not significant, that they have to put themselves last, they have to sacrifice for such and such, or sacrifice for such and such or that, or put we're literally reared to put our own self-interest to the back burner in lieu of whoever else. It could be biracial people, it could be black men, it could be whatever. Black women are reared as girls to put their own self-interest behind other people's. So do you think that people are going to just snap out of it all of a sudden because you give a speech or like no, since it doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, it would be great if it did, but it don't. That's a muscle that has to be grown over time. You have to literally have a strategy in place to know what are the logistics of being self-preserving? What are the logistics of putting myself first? What are the logistics of negotiating for myself? What are the logistics and the methodology of creating my own vision of my life? Off the Wi-Fi. Um, what are the logistics of creating the standards and requirements of other people that are going to be engaging with you, including men? Like, how do you see them and how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? What do you think you deserve? Who are you in the dynamic of this relationship? Are you really a 50-50 partner? Really? And if you're a 50-50 partner, then what would that mean that you would have to be doing? And is that sustainable for you as a woman, honestly? Or where is it that you really shine? Where is it that you are, when you operate, how can you operate in a way that doesn't deplete you, that you feel motivated and inspired and creative? How does that look? And what is that worth? And what is that value? Like, why are they chasing you around? What are they chasing? Because you need to know why. You need to know what do you got that's getting chased, that they're hounding you down and can't get you off their mind. That way you can know and internalize that and that you can value that. This is for many people not like an intuitive it's not an intuitive notion. Maybe it was originally, but it was groomed out of Black women. It was literally groomed out of them. And they and globally, in black male worship, the standard has been really low. The standard really, there really isn't one. There really isn't one. You're really expected to tolerate abuse, and that's seen as a good thing. You know, you're supposed to tolerate infidelity and abuse and side babies and, you know, working 50-50, marrying down, you're supposed to, that's the thing. And it's not working. It has not been working. It's not working. We look at our health outcomes with high blood pressure, weight, diabetes, our fertility rates, our childbearing experience and childbirth experience is very unhealthy. We have bad health outcomes when it comes to that. We have more fibroids than any other woman in this nation. When we get breast cancer at lower rates than other women, but when we get breast cancer, it's more severe. It's far more advanced than other women, and our tumors are way more aggressive than other communities. So our health is speaking and telling us what we're doing is not working. So we have to change a lot of things. And, I shared with y'all a while ago that my godmother told me, she was like, the most important decision that you make is who you decide to partner with as far as like an intimate relationship. And I kind of knew that to be true because it can literally catapult your lifestyle to that of legacy building, or it can catapult your life to a life of luxury, a life of joy, a life of, deep self growth as you get to walk the journey of life with someone, or it could anchor you into poverty. It could literally be a life or death situation in many cases because of the violence, because of the mental illness, because of the substance abuse, because of the, psychiatric issues that are either diagnosed or undiagnosed, but definitely untreated, you know, and also the people who have them who really just don't want treatment. And trying to use Black women as a social work, they try to use Black women as some type of social work rehabilitation house that you're just supposed to be their everything. Their nurse, their psychiatrist, their pastor, their cook, their maid, their chauffeur, their co-signer. You're just supposed to do it all. You're supposed to do it all. And then it's like when you open up your mouth to say what you think you need, and people be like, "Oh, you're a gold digger. You're not doing it for love. You're in it for the wrong reason." It's amazing to me being in other communities and talking with other women, the things that is just everyday life is really nothing special to them. That's the same thing that will get you called a gold digger, a prostitute, everything but a child of God in a Black community. So that is real baggage. That's baggage that a lot of Black women have. And if you have that kind of baggage and you're stepping into um, dating and relationships and you have not cleaned that up, the belief systems that you have, the underlying belief systems that you have about yourself and about how things are supposed to play out, and what you define as a man and how a man demonstrates in life, that plays a lot into how your experience is going to be. And if you're going to be able to sort of like ascend from a lot of the baggage that was inherited. Because just because this dysfunction has been passed down generation after generation after generation doesn't mean that we have to continue on with it. It doesn't mean that we have to carry on with it. So therefore, it's not a waste of time to spend energy and resources evaluating this very important thing. And it's very important for women who would like children in a marriage one day. It's important for all women because all women need to be safe, and all Black women need to be in relating with men in a way that doesn't deplete you so much, because you'll still end up getting depleted a little bit. But the idea is that you're not getting depleted without any type of investment. Men are like energy vampires. They're like little energy vampires. And if you don't require anything of them, you will literally just be depleted. You'll be depleted. So you have to get investment along the way, commensurate to where you are in relating with that particular guy. And if you're not used to getting investments from men, then you gotta learn how to do it. And it takes practice. Like, what, I don't know, what is the rocket science behind that? It's really like not that complicated. And I'm not saying it to y'all, the ladies who are engaging in dating strategy. I'm talking about for the people who keep telling you that it's a waste of time. You need to focus on your bag. You need to focus on your bag. Okay, well, bags can come in a variety of ways. There's no one way to get to a bag. You need to focus on education. And okay, do all that. Focus on education. Focus on career advancement. Definitely. That doesn't mean that you're not dating while you're getting your education. You're still probably dating. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very few women who literally shut it down for 5 years while they're getting their education. Like, most of the time, they're dibbling and dabbling in something. You know what I mean? Most of the time, you're dibbling and dabbling in something. It's not like you're just, you know, literally only in the books for 5 or 6 years. Like, that's not necessarily practical. That's not really what's happening on the ground when women are like, oh, I'm in my last year of school and I'm dating. I get those messages all the time from girls in college. Oh, I'm in college and I'm dating. So, you know, you're still dating even if you're focusing on your education. You still need to get some skills. It's definitely not going to be the biggest part of your life because you have to prioritize and squeeze it in where it makes sense. But that doesn't mean that you're not doing it just because you're on the career path or education path. God knows I wish I would have had the information when I was in college. I probably wouldn't have any student debt. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So yeah, could you get your school expenses paid? Yeah, you can. Why not? Why can't you? You should be able to get some books, help with your student fees, and why not? If somebody's going to be using your time, attention, and affection, why can't you get some investment towards your education? Why not? But all of that comes with having a strategy and knowing your worth, and even if you don't know it right away, just growing and knowing it. Because I know that's a really tall order. It sounds easy to say, but a lot of women struggle with that. When I say a lot of women struggle with that. The way that we relate when it comes to creating an environment to be vulnerable. That was a download that I got earlier this morning. Uh, women, feminine women create an environment to be vulnerable in. So, like, when you look at mammals in the wild, a lot of times they literally will not go into labor until they find somewhere that they can be vulnerable, because when they go into labor, different mammals, like the big cats, for example, like a leopard or something, when they go into labor, they can't fight. They can't fight. If anybody attacks them, they're going to be dead, them and the babies. So they will literally, like, it's time to have the baby. They will not have the baby. They'll just keep circling the environment until they find the perfect place. So the place has to be very strategic. It has to mask the smell of birth. It has to be out of reach, out of sight of of uh of predators. They literally create an environment that they can be vulnerable in. It's a feminine trait. So when it comes to selecting a mate, when it comes to selecting a mate, for example, dating, the feminine art and skill of finding a man that you can have some level of vulnerability with, that's a very feminine trait, and it takes a lot of feminine intelligence, because every man is not safe. And so all of these things that we're expecting and requiring, and we're observing how they interact, how they act, all of that is the skill that you need to determine if this person is safe enough for you to be vulnerable with. Not necessarily 100% vulnerable, but any percentage of vulnerable. Are they even safe for you to let your guard down 10%, 20%? So that is a skill to learn. And one way that you hone that skill is eliminating people who violate your the sacred part of you. People who um trigger wounds that you're healing, and they continuously do it, even though you've instructed them not to do it, you've asked them not to do it, and they just keep on doing it for whatever reason. Maybe that's just how they are. Maybe they have a personality disorder. Maybe they have a mental illness. Maybe they're just evil. Who knows? But eliminating that person, or kind of like putting that person at a safe distance away from your inner self, and deciding that you're not going to be vulnerable with that person because you have strong boundaries. And if people violate your boundaries, then you push them out, because it's your responsibility to protect yourself. It's your responsibility to protect yourself. And nobody has a pass to violate your inner space. It can your mama, your daddy, your grandmama, them, your auntie them. Nobody, your siblings, nobody has the right to do that. Because if you can build up the muscle and the strength to do that with them, that gives you skills to translate into the dating world, not to end up with a man that's going to do that. You see what I'm saying? But if those boundaries are very porous, it tends to translate over to them. It tends to translate over into the dating situation as well. So you can end up in a relationship with someone who does not respect your boundaries, does not value you, does not cherish you, does not put you on a pedestal, does not treat you delicately and gently. somebody that will just handle you any type of way. So these skills are very important. They're not frivolous, so don't let anybody shame you or tell you that you're wasting your time in developing this aspect of I don't want to say relationship management, but relating with other people intimately. Let me say that. Relating with others intimately. Because the intimacy of course starts with you, the intimacy level that you have with yourself. Because think about, what is intimacy? Intimacy is knowing someone on a deep level. Intimacy is being safe, being vulnerable with someone. Intimacy is accepting the other person and feeling fully accepted by them. Intimacy is closeness. Um, Intimacy is sacred. So the intimacy begins with you, going deep within yourself and really learning what brings you joy, really learning what lights you up, learning um, what your boundaries are, what feels good, what does not feel good. Listening to yourself, because sometimes you can just be so disconnected from yourself, and your intuition can get literally buried or sort of like silenced. So when you quiet everything and you start listening to it, that's you getting intimate with yourself, the closeness, the vulnerability, all the things that I just said. So then you will have the strength and you will have the fortitude to be able to do that with someone else. You will be able to do it. So relating with others on an intimate level is an important skill to develop in life. It will help you be safe. It will help you be more self-actualized because we're social beings. So you should feel confident in what you're doing, and find a way to integrate it in your life in a way that feels good, that feels like you're putting the right amount of energy into it. Not too much, not too little, just enough that feels right for you. All right. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel, like and share. Talk soon. Bye.